A dramatic showdown at the Capitol as a bipartisan group of lawmakers works to save the life of Robert Robertson. Unprecedented legal maneuvers by those House members led the Texas Supreme Court to put Robertson's execution on hold. Robertson's supporters believe his 2003 conviction for the death of his 2-year-old daughter was based on shaken baby syndrome, which is now considered outdated science. They believe he deserves a new trial, but this case has become bigger than Robertson's guilt or innocence. Now it's fueling deep constitutional questions as the governor fights with the legislature over whose power prevails and maybe who lives and who dies.
Texas leaders clashing with Robert Robertson's life on the line.
You get your hopes up and then you get your hopes down, you get your hopes up. Whenever they were fighting Thursday night.
Robertson's brother joining protesters crowding a historic hearing, but the star witness still in solitary.
It's especially egregious when there's so much doubt about the guilt of the person involved.
Governor Abbott and Attorney General Paxton are trying to invalidate the legislature's subpoena and block Robertson's testimony. Abbott telling the Texas Supreme Court the House stepped out of line. Only he can extend a death row inmate's life. Robertson's team fought till the last minute to get him to Austin.
Well, fundamentally, that's the purpose of a subpoena, is for a person to physically be present and be assessed for their credibility.
The impasse triggering fundamental questions of the separation of powers.
There are dramatic ways that we could enforce that subpoena, but we didn't issue the subpoena to create a constitutional crisis. And we aren't interested in escalating a division between branches of government.
The committee instead leaning on celebrity power.
I am 100% convinced that we're facing a miscarriage of justice here.
The courts so far silent, and Robertson still on death row.
I think the fact this is blowing up into a bigger civics lesson and a tug of war about who has power, when really it should just be about, were we about to execute an innocent man? But it's a good thing. It's a healthy thing.
Ryan Chandler, State of Texas.
The committee heard from another celebrity witness. Author John Grisham underscored the need for modern scientific standards in criminal trials. He referenced the focus on shaken baby syndrome in the death of Robertson's daughter, Nikki, science that has since been discredited. Later in the hearing, the committee heard from Terry Compton. She was a juror in Robertson's case. Compton testified that shaken baby syndrome was the primary basis for his conviction. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton says the effort by state lawmakers to get a death row inmate a new trial is, quote, based on lies. Paxton posted information from the trial record on social media. He said evidence shows Robertson had a history of abusing his daughter. The Attorney General's office also released an autopsy report from Robertson's original trial. It states the girl's death was due to blunt force trauma. Chairman Joe Moody noted that the information Paxton released contradicted testimony lawmakers heard from lawyers, a juror, and a lead investigator in Robertson's case. Moody maintains that Robertson deserves a new trial. This story is still developing. Committee members say they still want to hear from Robertson himself and could travel to death row to meet with him. However, the Texas Supreme Court is weighing whether to toss out the subpoena that would allow the committee to hear from Robertson. The decision is expected next month. After a deadly car crash into an Austin emergency room, city leaders are working to make hospitals safer. Now, see how our investigation is prompting a Texas senator to take a broader look across the state.